Gotta kick off the show here.
We're agreeing.
So cleaned up.
Alrighty, Bills Mafia, welcome to another edition of the Mafia Cast. Thank you for listening and checking in on us. We've got a great show lineup today. We are part of the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. I'm your host, Papa Ron, and these are my buddies, co-hosts, friends, pals, confidants, whatever you want to call them, Mike and Casey. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? Thanks for the intro.
So I was going back and watching a couple of the old games. Like today, I watched the playoff game against the Bengals, and yesterday was the playoff game against the Dolphins. And I do want to say, Papa Ron, you made TV a couple times.
I seen it too.
If you know where to look, you were there. So I think you officially made it.
We're like right near the top of the tunnel, left, right?
Yep.
Right in there.
All right.
Near the aisle, the next aisle.
I'll have to go back. So the Bengals one, I'll have to fast forward through that and just 'cause I don't want to watch that game again. I do not want to subject myself to that. It's been a fun week here in my household trying to get this house painted and finished up. In fact, I'm still wearing my painting shorts. I'm like covered in paint down here below. I changed the shirt though, so we're good.
Yeah.
So we have the schedule come out here soon. The release show in half an hour. We've all been hearing. In fact, there's one right there. Jags to play Bills October 8th. And so far with what you guys have seen, with what's been leaked, what do you think so far? Are you excited to be opening the season on Monday night? I know Casey's not too thrilled about that, but I'll let you talk about it.
Hey, I like to go to bed early. 8:30 is like my bedtime, so to make that kickoff is kind of cruel to me. And I work for a school district, and that's the first week of school. Yeah.
So
that's going to be kind of rough, but we can always power through if it's for the Bills.
The price of being decent, right?
Yeah,
so, something we just got to deal with. But I don't mind waiting another day or so, and coming in prime time.
I've seen a lot of complaints to where 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we were all like, how come we don't get any national attention? How come nobody cares about the Bills? And here we are, we're like, we want our 1 p.m. games back. And I am one of those people saying that. So it's nice. It's funny how it's come full circle.
Now, somebody else was talking about it on Twitter today, and I responded with my comment was just move out to the West, good old Idaho here, Washington, Oregon, California. We don't have those kind of problems.
No thanks.
Right.
I like going to games.
It is a little rough for those overseas games sometimes when I got to wake up like 7 o'clock in the morning. But
that's even tough for me.
I'm
sometimes.
So sorry.
I forgot there was a game on today. Not the Bills game, but
it's so fun. It's so fun. It starts at 9:30, ends at 12:30. You got that half an hour to scarf down some lunch, then hop back up on the couch with a beer and just watch football the whole rest of the day.
Yeah. We're going to get into some more of it because I want to talk to you guys about the Thanksgiving Day football or the lack of this season. But before we do that, we want to kind of get into some of our we'll start here with this. So the Bills signing some of the draftees that we saw that today. I believe 4-year deals. I haven't seen any specific details or anything, but they're getting this knocked out. It's not a huge, I guess it's an expectation that would get done. But I'm not sure who the last one is remaining. Do you guys know?
Kincaid. That's why they've all been 4-year deals. But it's not surprising to see a first-round draft pick not be signed yet. We've seen Kyle Pitts 2 years ago. He went a long while before signing his deal. So it's not a huge deal. It'll get done. What I'm more curious,
everyone signed except for one. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, everybody except Kincaid. I'm curious to see where we're going to be cap wise after we finish signing everybody. I mean, including the UDFAs. I just kind of curious as to see whether we're $2 million above or below the cap and what we can do and go from there.
Yeah. In years past, it seems like it's kind of almost like a cascade with the first rounders. Like everybody's waiting to see who the number one pick is going to sign or how much he's going to sign with. And then they kind of base it off that, well, he got this, so I'm the number 2 pick, so I should get this. Obviously, there's positional values in that as well. But at the 27th pick, I don't personally think that that's going to be as big a deal. Hopefully, I'm sure it'll get done sooner than later, regardless. 25th. So 25th.
I mean, their tight end room now, I mean, if you think about it, it's going to be one of the higher paid tight end rooms in the NFL. With Dawson Knox's contract from a few years back and now a first round tight end. I mean, like you said, I know it was only pick 27, but or pick 25, but I mean, that's still going to be a pretty penny. I mean, we've set up ourselves the same way that the Eagles had Goddard and Ertz. I mean, we keep saying Aaron Hernandez and Gronk, all those 2 tight end sets, those great teams that ran those sets. Looks like they're trying to take a page out of their book.
Yeah, and I've said this before, Tom Brady made a career out of 2 tight end sets. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. I have a feeling it's going to be less of your traditional two tight sets and more of, with Kincaid in the slot. That's kind of what I'm anticipating. And that's a lot of what I've been seeing on social media and online is that's more the expectation is to him to play that role.
Yeah.
Some of the tight ends we currently have, Quentin Morris, Knox, of course, Zach Davidson as well. Morris, what do you think? I think we could just keep the 3 tight ends, right?
Yeah, probably Morris being one of those
healthy
scratches on game day.
Yeah, more than likely. So that's that. As far as the draftees, like I said, not a whole lot going on there with the roster and stuff. But we want to get into the next thing here. We've kind of been talking about this for the past few weeks with some breaks here and there because of the draft and things like that. But the Bills all-time team. Now, this isn't a team that the 3 of us put together and said this guy's this or that. It's something that I put out there on social media. With the polls, list the names, and I let the Bills Mafia people vote on who they want on this team. So I understand that there's probably going to be some players and fans. Well, let me say that again. Some fans that will not agree necessarily with the players, but part of the issue that we have with it is the fact that some of these players who are really good, like Joe, I'm not going to say the last name right, so I'm just going to say Joe D. Played back in the 70s, even before him, Billy Shaw back in the 60s. So a lot of the players who were on these polls, today's, like Casey Mike here, don't really know. And even myself, for the guys back in the 60s, I'm not that old.
Yeah. They're really pushing the envelope here.
It is.
Most of them, I'd say. Most of them.
Yeah, so we've talked about some of the skill position players in the past shows. This week, we want to talk about the offensive line. And we have some of our very own Buffalo Rumblings guys and former Bills players, Jerry Ostrowski and John Fina, who were on these polls, both of whom also won their respective polls and made the team. Well, they didn't win it outright. They were number 2 in both cases, but they are on this team as well. So we'll just start with the right guard first, though, where, Joe D was a landslide winner. These polls get posted both on Facebook and Twitter, and then I combine the numbers. But it was like 4-1. He blew everybody away. Next after him was Jerry O. Again, Buffalo Rumblings. Big O made the team as the number 2 right guard. I know you guys don't know. You guys know Jerry O.
I mean, he was here for a long time.
We're not complete imbeciles here. But I mean, these guys from the 60s and 70s, I mean, my dad was barely 10 years old. So you got to give me a little bit of slack on it.
Yeah. But what's fun is we're also learning too about more of the history of the team. And,
absolutely.
You don't really get that every day. Right.
Because there's guys like Joe O'Donnell. When I first put out the list for the right guards, and I came across Joe O'Donnell, that's a name I hadn't recognized. But by doing this, it forces me to, learn about these guys.
Right.
Yeah, no.
This is my favorite comment we've ever gotten. Because we all have
Bobby
these same.
Hart did not get a vote.
We all have the same gripe against Bobby Hart. You suck. Stop making the 53. Every year they put him on the 53.
That's
why do you think that is?
I don't know, because they feel bad at this point. Like, I can't even tell you anymore.
Yeah. So, anyways, going back to it, but yeah, it kind of makes us do a little bit of studying, learn some of these guys from the Bills' past and their history. We were talking about this before the show, and I just want to ask people, when you see these polls pop up, please vote on them. Of course, retweet them, like them, whatever, so we can reach more of the Bills Mafia fans. But before you comment, if you can just do a little quick Google search, what you want to say before you actually say it. We did the linebackers today, and I don't know how many people, as an outside linebackers poll, how many people said, what about Shane Conlon? What about London Fletcher? Well, they're middle linebackers. So let's move on. And yeah, so just a quick little Google search. It'll save us all a lot of headache. And I don't know. Pet peeve, I get annoyed by it, but
something I like to do sometimes.
Well, then you got people
so I can at least act like I know what I'm talking about sometimes.
Like Casey, who like to just kind of stir the pot. And
yeah.
What do you mean Ed Oliver wasn't on the all-time defensive tackles poll? I don't understand.
Maybe it hasn't been long enough.
Oh, yeah, let him get us through this $10.7 million season first. I gotcha.
Hey.
Well, since you brought that up, let me ask you guys this. When you're considering somebody for an all-time team, whether it's our team or whatever, does longevity matter to you? If, let's for example say Terrell Owens was a name that came up when we did the wide receivers. He played 1 year with us. Yes, he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Yes, he was one of the best to play the game, but he only played with Buffalo for a season and at the end of his career.
Right.
So
it's hard to put.
Personally, I didn't consider him even on the lists.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's hard to put guys like that on an all-time list when you see someone that's been on the team for 10 years, spent most of their career there, multiple Pro Bowls. That's what I think we're looking for.
I mean, I'd say
we're talking all-time.
I'd put Robert Woods on an all-time poll before I'd put Terrell Owens. Right. When it comes to the Bills. I mean, like you said, yeah, he's an all-time wide receiver in the NFL.
So Terrell Owens could be on an all-time other team than the Bills.
Yeah, the Cowboys, the 49ers. I mean, he didn't. It was 2 years, and he didn't do anything spectacular. I mean, Stevie Johnson. I bet he would get way more votes on an all-time poll than Terrell Owens did. I know he's a fan favorite, but I mean, he performed better than Terrell did. Well, Lee Evans, Eric Mold, all those kind of guys.
When I complete this whole team and we get all the polls out there, one of the things that I want to do at the end of it is throw up a poll that and include some names on it that didn't make the team but are fan favorites. Kind of like a I don't know what you'd call it, but a fan favorite all-timer, like a Stevie Johnson, or little foreshadowing here, Steve Tasker, or name someone. I don't know.
Fred Jackson.
Fred Jackson. Jim Kelly.
That's a good one.
Well,
yeah,
Jim Kelly's.
But
but he's at the top as far as all-time quarterbacks. He's not someone
longevity though.
Like but there is like who's a quarterback that you would say? I feel like there's other quarterbacks besides him that you could say honorable mention for the all-time.
Flutie,
like a Flutie, yeah, right. There's someone like that.
That one would probably go to Flutie if I had to guess. Oops, sorry, let me put it back up.
You got the key. And that's all he gets. He doesn't get the all-time tag. He's key to the city.
There's your all-time.
You can however long be on our all-time team, but you get a key to the city, Troll.
Yeah.
So
what's more important to you?
Hey, not many people can say that, right?
Yes, I mean, I can't, but I didn't play for a year.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So that's the right guard. Jody made the team. Jerry Ostrowski made that team at left guard. Okay, before we finish this, I mean, just throw myself under the bus. I completely forgot to put up the poll for the right tackles. So this is an incomplete offensive line. We have a hole there. We're going to have a draft here soon. and we'll let Bills Mafia pick the right tackles.
I don't think you completely forgot. You just kind of didn't get around to it. Maybe a little combination of both.
Well, so what happened was I went through these first four, right? The offensive line. Then the draft happened. So all my attention was focused on the draft, and the prospects, and all of that. And then I was like, oh, it's time for the defense. So the defensive line is done. We're working on the linebackers now, and so we'll do the right tackles. I'll get that one, fixed, and we will finally have a complete offensive line. All right, we're going to go back to the quarterbacks because the names are popping up here. We've got one for Flutie.
Oh yeah.
Jack Kemp.
There they are.
Kemp got a lot of votes on the poll as the quarterback for this team. He's another one of those though that played back in the '60s, 2-time AFL champ, and not a lot of Bills Mafia know who he is because it was 50, 60 years ago. There's another one for Kemp. We got one for Ferguson. Quarterback in this. Okay, so this name came up. Hold on, this one was.
We were just talking about him.
Tool time. Oh my God.
Yeah, we were talking about him a couple of weeks ago and how that was my guy. Like I just knew Jeff Toole was going to shock the world. Yeah, that didn't work out.
You were right. He shocked the world
in a different kind of way. Yeah,
it was shocking how bad he was.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to this guy. So Joe Ferguson, he played in the '70s. I believe he played into the early 80s a little bit. And we were talking about this pre-show. I wasn't expecting the name to come up, but this is a perfect segue. Somebody that's in the comments can maybe confirm this story, but this is what I've heard where the red helmets came from was because of Joe Ferguson. The story I heard was back in those days, he had a hard time seeing the Bills players when he was, trying to find the open guy because I guess he was colorblind. So they changed the color of the helmets to the red so that they would stick out to him. And he could actually see who he was throwing it to. Whether that's urban legend or not, I don't know. So if there's anybody that knows that as fact, I would love to hear it and know if that's actually how the red helmets
I'd like to see what year it actually happened to, because now I'm seeing that he was the passing leader and touchdown leader, 77 and 75.
Ferguson?
Passing leader in 77 and touchdowns leader in 75. So if it happened in 75, it definitely helped.
Well, we might have to do a little bit of research on this story and dig into it. And maybe we can talk about it more next week. We will. I'm just going to throw this out here really quick. I'm not going to give the name yet, but we do have a special guest that will be on the show with us next week. And I think this would be a great topic to have with him. Maybe he can confirm if this is true or not. Roy Collins here. Ferguson was the first quarterback I remember watching for the Bills. That was even before me. I was born in the 70s, but I was only like 3. So the first quarterback I watched with the Bills was Jim Kelly. It was a Monday night game. Jim Kelly's first Monday night game, in fact, of his career against the Jets, which ironically enough, we were playing the Jets to open the season on Monday Night Football this year. My first ever game in person in Bills Stadium was against the Jets. So a lot of connections with the Jets there. Richard Rush, I have heard that about Ferguson. So, and then
we also have Roy. Yeah. All right. Someone called Joe. Get to the bottom of this.
Somebody give Joe Ferguson a call. Hold on. I got him on speed dial.
Yeah.
I do remember people hated the red helmets, but I loved it. Casey, go ahead.
Hey, maybe it's because I'm like Joe Ferguson, because I'm colorblind too. Well,
he's not really.
I love the red helmets, so I'm all for it. I hope they bring them back. I don't want them back permanently. I love.
See,
the white.
I'm seeing
all white. So if we can do on the throwback games, instead of doing the standing buffalo this year, if we go back and we do a couple of red helmets, then I'm fine with that. That'd be cool. I think the red helmet with the blue jersey and white pants. I think that would look really, really sharp. But I'm also colorblind, so don't take fashion advice from me.
I do see that, the Joe thing, but I also see that red helmets were introduced in '84, so that wouldn't make sense.
No, that wouldn't add up either. We're going to look into this.
We will come back to this with our guests next week.
Yeah, for sure. As far as the red helmets go, I'm not a big fan, but I would be fine with it as long as they don't bring back those early 2000 uniforms. Those were
dark blue.
horrendous.
I'd like to see red helmets with the color rush red, all red, everything.
I think that'd be okay.
Yeah.
The all red would be cool.
Wow,
Yeah,
it'd be weird. I just can't. It just looks weird to me if I picture it in my head now just throwing a red helmet back on.
Real quick, it just remember the first year that like the color rush really happened, and was it the Bills and Jets that had them playing in
Red
the
and green.
and
Red
nobody.
and
And I mean, when I say I'm colorblind, I really couldn't tell.
That was
Like,
during the Rex Ryan era.
jerseys apart, and I was like, I can't remember how. I mean, I can't forget how bad of like just how bad they all were. Like all those original color rush jerseys were, and now they're all fire. But I mean, in the beginning, that was rough.
Yeah,
I do remember that. That was a big deal. Yeah, here's one against it. Color Rush, you not a fan still. I'm not crazy about the Color Rush. I mean, they're fine, I guess, for once a season.
Yeah.
But those early 2000 uniforms they're I don't even want to talk about it. It makes me sick.
By coincidence, the last 4 years I've gone to a Bills game, they've just so happened to be color rush games. And not like having no idea prior, just when they come out, I'm like, oh, no kidding. And since the red one, like since these new color rushes have come out, like those are my favorite. So kind of happy about it.
All right, let's get back to the offensive line. The schedule we got the show coming on in 9 minutes. So we want to talk more about the schedule in a little bit. So let's get to the offensive line. The left guard, again, this was a little bit, but it was a landslide. So the 4 guys I put on the list: Billy Shaw, Reggie McKenzie, Jim Richard, and Reuben Brown. Which of those 4 names stands out to you two? That any of them that you actually?
Reuben Brown, apparently.
You said Brown. What were the other 3?
Billy Shaw, Reggie McKenzie, and Jim Richard.
And Billy Shaw. I mean,
Billy Shaw stands out to me because I got a signed jersey sitting here behind me.
Hall of Fame jersey.
So I researched him a little,
there you go.
Way before my time.
Yeah.
Way before.
Again, he was a 60s. So it was interesting to me when I did these polls. So first of all, Reuben Brown won the poll, a landslide. Reggie McKenzie came in second. So those 2 make the team. The funny thing is Billy Shaw was 3rd on the poll, and he's the only Hall of Famer of those 4. He's one of only 2 offensive line Hall of Famers for the Bills, the other one being Joe D. We thought maybe Kent Hull was in, but
I'm pretty sure I voted for him maybe.
Doing a quick Google search, Kent Hull is not in the Hall. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. But, again, this is a Bills Mafia All-Time. This is not, based on stats or anything like that. This is what Bills Mafia thinks, and that's fine.
It's all of our opinions.
Yeah.
Because we all want to be GM sometimes, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, nothing's better than playing like armchair GM. Are you kidding me? That's why fantasy is so fun.
Yeah. But these all-time lists are hard to do. Even if you're like an individual, like a journalist, and you're putting together one of these lists, it is extremely difficult to compare different eras. Like the game from the 60s is vastly different than what it is today.
Right. I was going to ask that too. Like, is it more impressive to have more awards then or now? You know what I mean?
I think it depends on the position.
Yeah.
So my question is, so to compare somebody from the 60s and 70s as a great offensive lineman, comparing them to, somebody of today, it doesn't really, nobody on this current Bills team, as we know of, as it stands, is going to be on an all-time team poll anytime soon.
From the offensive line?
Yeah.
Spencer Brown's going to get there, man.
Yeah. Maybe. Hopefully. I hope he does. But I'm not banking.
We haven't done the right tackles yet. He might win that one.
This is true.
Hey.
But so do you compare, because now in today's game, it's more so you have to be great at pass blocking, especially for a team like the Bills. I mean, they're such a pass-heavy team. But back then, you had to be an incredibly great run blocker. And you had to be a little bit lighter, a little bit faster, so you could pull and run downfield and run with that running back more. So, do you compare in this kind of situation for you guys? Would you compare all right, there's the strengths versus the strengths. Whose strength do you think was
right.
better overall, or do you just do as a whole?
Go ahead, Casey or Mike.
I kind of just look at the stats, honestly. Like it's just more numbers for me. But it's kind of hard, like saying, this guy was way better at run blocking than this guy was at pass blocking or something like that. So, I mean, I definitely look at awards, Pro Bowl appearances, things like that. That's what really stands out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. I think when you're comparing genres, you have to, one, you look at the stats. Two, I think you look at the scheme as well. You look at some of those. I'll take the Houston Oilers, for example. Back in the 90s, Warren Moon was slinging the ball all over the field. And they had those wide receivers with Haywood Jeffries and Ernest Givens. I mean, they were putting up numbers in the passing game. But then they had Lorenzo White, the running back. He was good, but he didn't put up a lot of big numbers. So if you put something like that on a team like, let's say, the Titans of today, would he produce the same way? So for me, I try to envision a player in a different situation. Another example, to use the Bills as one, Eric Moulds. I personally think he's the best receiver to put on a Bills uniform, period. Because
so you try to picture him back in the early 90s on the team.
Right.
Or picture him now with Josh Allen.
Exactly.
Right.
As opposed to what he had with the Lossmans and
Trent Edwards.
Yeah, all of those guys. And because he's number 2 on most Bills all-time lists as far as stats go anyways. So if he has a good offense around him, if he has a good offensive line, if he has a good quarterback that he never had, what kind of numbers would he have put up? What kind of numbers? I mean, you can even do the same thing with Andre Reed, honestly. Yeah, those 90s Bills were fantastic, and he put up some numbers. Yeah. But put Andre Reed in that with Josh Allen today when they throw in the ball 50 times a game. Because even Jim Kelly didn't throw that much.
No. Well, no, I mean, I don't – off the top of my head, I don't believe Jim Kelly ever broke 4,000 passing yards in a season. Off the top of my head, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was between 35 and like 3,900 yards every year. I mean, I understand they had a Hall of Fame running back behind him, so you could turn it off and get 5 yards easy. I mean, easy, but get 5 yards almost every single time. Yeah. So they didn't. I guess maybe they didn't necessarily have to, but the time was different, and that's right. That's exactly. That's right when the transition was just starting to happen from a running to a passing league. The Bills just happen to have both the exact same time.
I like what Carl just said on that comment. Mm-hmm. As if they do win the Super Bowl, I mean, it definitely puts it should automatically put some guys in that.
I mean, it makes Diggs, Allen, the best wide receiver running.
Well, even the lineman too, though, ever. Maybe is what I think Carl was saying.
I mean, does it make Mitch Morris the best center we've ever had? I mean, it quite possibly could.
Well, and that's a really good point. I think that is something that a lot of people would look at and be like, well, that team won a Super Bowl, so he must have been really good at something, right? I kind of want to go back to what you said as far as Jim Kelly not throwing for 4,000 yards. I find it interesting, even still, that 3,000 yards back then was a fantastic season. Like, if this nowadays, though, like half the quarterbacks are throwing for 4,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I pulled up Kelly's numbers, starting with 86, 3,500 yards, just shy of 3,600. And then we got 2,800, 34, 31, 28, 38, 34, 34, 31, 31, and 28. So, his best year was 1991 with 3,844 yards, had 33 touchdowns, and still had 17 interceptions. Like
who's that sound like? Yeah. A great quarterback who throws interceptions.
Yeah. Well, listen to these numbers. This will blow your mind, actually. So these are Jim Kelly's interceptions per year. 1986, 17, 11, 17, 18, 9, 17, 19, 18, 17, 13, 19. He threw 175 interceptions to 237 career touchdowns.
Yep. Wow. And people still deem
him as
one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Same thing with Brett Favre. Same like Peyton Manning threw 27 interceptions in his first career like in his first year in the NFL. Like
a year.
These guys are going.
That's a record that still stands too.
And I don't think it'll ever be broken, to be honest, unless somebody let Nathan Peterman go play a whole season, which by God, that'll never happen. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I don't know how we ended up going back to the quarterbacks. This almost always happens, but
it's 8 o'clock, boys.
Let's stay. Yeah, it's popping up right now. Week 1, Monday night. Yeah. So, as far as the quarterbacks go, Josh Allen won that particular poll. Obviously, Jim Kelly was second. And do you guys agree with that? Like, Allen doesn't have the numbers yet to compare with Kelly, and that was a big thing that people were talking about when I ran that poll. Is, well, Josh Allen hasn't done it as long. He doesn't have the Super Bowl appearances. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. But based on what you know, what is for, like with all the interceptions that Kelly threw and what you've seen with Allen, do you feel like you've seen enough with Allen to say, yeah, he's the best ever to put on the Bills uniform?
I can't say that, but there's an unknown there that his ceiling could be much higher. I mean, who knows what the future holds? It's a little early yet, maybe to speculate.
Could be 7 Super Bowls. Could be 0. Josh Allen could have a potentially Hall of Fame career and never win us a Super Bowl. Look at what Phillip Rivers did for the Chargers. Dan
Marino.
Look at, Eli Manning. He won 2 Super Bowls, and people are questioning whether he's going to be in the Hall of Fame or not. Allen.
Yeah.
That's why we all need to cherish what Josh Allen is giving us right now, because he is playing like legendary, absolutely legendary at the top of this game that some of us have literally never seen before.
The way things are right now, I wouldn't want any other quarterback that's out there right now.
No, you trade Pat Mahomes for Josh Allen. I think it's a clean swap 1-for-1. Just personally, fan bias, I want Josh Allen. I would rather have Josh Allen.
Right. But here's the thing with the stats and the numbers too. We were talking about. It's like, the numbers weren't like, we're talking about Kelly's passing yards, but like, every year it's like this thing like break the record. It's just, there's always, guys just want to break the record of last year. It's constantly improving, and guys are just, they're just going so hard to try to better themselves and be better, the best there ever was.
Yeah. Roy Collins brings up a good point here. DBs had more freedom back then. I did watch on YouTube that Monday night game between the Bills and the Jets, because I just wanted to watch it again because that's what I do in the summer. But I remember the commentators talking about, so there was one particular play, the defensive back like mauled the receiver, wasn't called. And the commentary even stated that that's a change in this year where the defensive backs have more flexibility to be more aggressive with the receivers, as opposed to years past they couldn't. That would have been a penalty. And I just found that so interesting that we went from one thing to an extreme, and now we've gone completely the other extreme now where, DBs cannot touch the receiver.
Nope, unless the ball's in the air.
Yeah, so that's another aspect of,
you got to turn your head. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, that's another aspect of when you're comparing these players of different genres is the rules.
Yep.
How are the rules impacting their performance as well?
Well, gentlemen, would you like to go over the official schedule?
I'm looking at it.
All right, week 1, who we got?
Jets, 8:15 Monday night.
Everyone knows about.
Week 2, home opener. Las Vegas Raiders are happy, 1 p.m. Week 3, at the Commanders, 1 p.m. Week 4, home against Miami at 1 p.m. Week 5, we're in London, 9:30 against the Jags. Week 6, we're against the Giants at 8:20 on Sunday Night Football. At home. I like that. That's gonna be a good game. That's gonna be really interesting. Following that, we're at New England at 1, and then we're on Thursday Night Football against the Bucs. Following that, we're on Sunday Night Football at the Bengals. Following that, Broncos. We're home against the Broncos on Monday Night Football. And then
Wait. Monday night against the Broncos?
yeah, it blows my mind too. I don't understand it.
That's a Monday night.
Yes.
Week 10, November 13th.
Yes. Week 11, we're home against the Jets at 4:25. So we're getting the feature slot that week. And
Who's the
then
opponent?
the Jets
Okay.
home. Then week 12, we are at the Eagles again in the feature slot at 4:25. Week 14, feature slot at Kansas City at 4:25. Week 15, home against Dallas at 4:25. Uncle Joe, that's the game you're coming up for, buddy. Got another game after my birthday. Week 16, cool. 2 days before Christmas, at the Chargers at 8 p.m., which is a Saturday on Peacock. So everybody be prepared to pay for another subscription. Mike,
already got it.
Thank you for mine. Week 17, New Year's Eve, we're home against the Patriots at 1, and week 18 is TBD versus Miami at Miami.
That'll be a good way to finish it off, I think.
So, out of all that, what game are you guys most excited for and most worried about?
I'm not worried about any of them. We're going 16, 17 and 0.
All right, now come back down to earth.
No, the one of them that stood out, obviously the London game, Jacksonville again. I think we all remember what happened the last time we played Jacksonville in London.
It was riveting.
Yeah,
but there's got to be games to lose on this schedule, because the season's long and
yeah,
let
me ask you, how do you feel? Because the last 2 years we've played the Chiefs early in the season, in week 5 and 6, I believe. This year, that's what you say, week 15.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
What do you think about that? Would you rather have them earlier in the year? Because it seems like they seem to start out slow.
They do.
And then they hit their stride.
You bring that up, and I think we'd really hate to lose that game week 14 to the Chiefs. So maybe if there's one to worry about, maybe that's the one for me.
I'd hate to lose to the Chiefs in week 2. No matter what, it affects the seeding the same way. I mean, I understand Paparon's logic, and they seem to start slow. I mean, so did the Patriots. It seemed like every year that they started off 2-3, and then they'd go on to win the Super Bowl, just like the Chiefs. But I mean, the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs aren't the team that really scares me anymore. I mean, I understand they're the Super Bowl champs, but I mean, I feel like the Bills and the Chiefs, I mean, they're right there. I mean, they're the same. I mean, they're at the same level. And the only team that really, or the two teams that, I mean, I'm worried about that. I'm like, yeah, I could 100% see us losing that game again, is the Bengals game, especially being a Monday night and in Cincinnati, and that Eagles game and down in Philly. Or no, we're home against Philly.
No, I think it is away.
No, is it away?
Eagles.
Okay, so
away,
even in Philly, I mean,
there was some people hoping for the Thanksgiving game at home, so it doesn't look like that's happening.
No Thanksgiving game. But hey, let's break a streak of players not getting injured on Thanksgiving, unless someone Jason Pierre-Paul's their own hand again, like cooking the turkey.
So So as far as the Thanksgiving game, because this was a question that I wanted to ask earlier, is what do you guys think about that? Do you enjoy having the Bills on Thanksgiving Day, or would you rather they didn't play? Aside from the injury thing, because I've told you guys before, I'm not into jinxes and curses and stuff. I don't believe in that.
It makes you feel good, though.
But would you rather have them play on Thanksgiving than not?
I thought it's been fun the last few years. I mean, growing up and never seeing them, play.
It's a nice consolation for not making it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, kind of.
It's like the second biggest football day. So I'll take it.
But my wife and I don't really do much on Thanksgiving because our families are so big. You know, we kind of have our own tradition, just staying home, hanging out together, and then spreading out Thanksgiving the next few days. So we get to hang out all day and watch football. So it's really nice. You know, last year it was at noon. 2 years ago against the Saints was at 8:30. It was really cool to just be able to hunker down and just do nothing but watch football and the Bills. The Bills be so highlighted.
I always preferred if they were going to play on Thanksgiving. I enjoy it because, again, to me, it just says that they're a nationally recognized team. Like that's almost like a sign of respect.
I just got that
and
image
that's
in my
something
head.
that we've always, that's something that as Bills
Yeah.
fans, we're always like, we've always
Josh
been
Allen with the turkey leg.
Yeah, which
Hell yeah, it's like iconic.
I feel like that the players do not want to bite into another one of those again because
oh my god,
do you remember? Do
you guys remember Diggs' face?
Yeah.
He's not. Oh my god. He's like, it's really good. Yeah. It's
it could be like the freshest turkey. Like, do they have an oven on the field and pull it out and it's right there? I mean, I know
we need a John Madden turducken.
How fresh is that turkey?
Right. Yeah. For me, I always liked them if they're going to be on the Thanksgiving to be later in the day because we have a family tradition where we get together with friends and family and we go play flag football. We spend like 2.5 hours doing that. And it makes me feel good because I get on the field with, like 12 and 13-year-olds and I feel like I can play again. So take advantage of them. But no, and then, by the time I get back, I'm hurting. I need to shower. And then we the turkey's coming out of the oven and I finish smoking it. And then
all the kids want to be like you one day.
I want to be like Papa Ron.
There's a song. No, I'm just kidding. There's I want to be like Papa Ron. No, that doesn't even sound right.
Stick to your day job, Papa Ron.
I don't have a day job right now, so
just doing the best we can.
Just don't sing for us, please.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely don't want to do that again. What other games are you guys kind of circling on this calendar that you're looking forward to? The other one I think obviously has to be the Bengals, right?
Yeah. Obviously,
absolutely.
But I can't wait to see what this Jets team looks like this year and how they play.
That's going to be a big Monday night game.
If they're clicking and this is like, I don't know, this New Jersey Packers team or whatever, something we've never seen before. It's I don't know. It's not the one. It's the most unknown for me, I guess. So it leaves a lot to question there. There's a lot to see.
Definitely agree with the unknown aspect of it. And I mean, we know that obviously Aaron Rodgers is one of the best to play the game. Blah blah blah. But he's 40 years old. There's only been one quarterback that really played into his 40s, mid 40s, at a high level. Obviously, that being Tom Brady. Not to say that Aaron Rodgers can't do it, but I'm skeptical. I really am. Like a 40-year quarterback, brand new team. I know the scheme is going to be similar because same offensive coordinator, and he's all the weapons that he did not want in Green Bay. He's brought over to New Jersey with him.
That might be my favorite meme.
New Jersey Packers.
I don't have any weapons. I want the same weapons I had last year.
I came up with that today, New Jersey Packers, and it's the Packers with New Jerseys, not just because they're in Jersey.
You need to create us a graphic with.
I know. I saw one today though, so I'm late with the Jets and.
That's okay. Just make your own.
The mashup of the two.
Call it your own.
Make it happen.
Yeah,
definitely. We
the
can
Jets.
work on
that. As far as the division goes. Dolphins or Jets? Which one are you guys most concerned with?
Jets fully. I mean,
yes.
I personally
I'm concerned for the Dolphins.
I think the Jets have the better quarterback. I think Miami has the better wide receiving core. Jets have the better running back room and tight ends
and defense.
And I'd say overall, I mean, they did add, and the Dolphins did add Jalen Ramsey. I mean, top 2-3 corner in the league. A lot of people put him at number 1. I think the Jets' defensive backs as a whole is better than Miami's. I think they have better linebackers. Their defensive line is, Miami's defensive line is pretty damn good, but the Jets, their D line, that'll give you nightmares.
It's going to be a good test.
They beat us down last year.
It's going to be I love the fact that they did give us the Jets week 1. I mean, like I said, just being greedy, I wish they gave it to us at 1:00 so we could see it even sooner. But I understand why they put that game at 8:15 on them as the first Monday night game. I mean, they're showing the world, all right, did the Jets actually get better or are the Bills back to being the Bills?
Yeah, that should be a fun game. The one advantage I would say that Buffalo kind of goes into this with is we have a little bit of an unknown on our own side with our defense. We've added, Taylor Rapp. We've got 3 quality starting safeties. Our defensive line with Puna Ford in the mix. Maybe Von Miller, we don't know. Not counting on that one, but and then the biggest unknown of all of that is McDermott. We don't know what this defense is going to look like. People can speculate all they want. People can say that the defense that Frazier ran was McDermott's defense. I don't think it was fully. I think there was some aspect of it, and I think it was Jerry Ostrowski said this earlier in the week, or maybe it was last week on the 3-man line, or
line to gain.
Line to gain. I got 3-man rush and line to gain mixed up. Sorry, but he commented that he felt like the way that the Frazier Conant called this defense is like, we've got Josh Allen. All we got to do is just kind of stop them. We don't need to force the issue. We don't need to risk it. We don't need to put any kind of pressure on them. We can hold them to field goals. Maybe they get a touchdown or 2 here and there, but we got Josh Allen, so we're fine. And that's, that makes sense. And when you think about it, if you look at it from that perspective, just hold them to 20. Josh Allen's going to get us 24. We'll be fine. I think McDermott is going to be more aggressive. I think he's going to force the issue more so and force offenses to think a little more and actually have to, take more risk. And I
make decisions faster,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what the defense looks like.
Say it's not exactly the same. What is one thing you guys are hoping is different compared to the past few seasons?
Well, for me, it's the defensive line. I keep hearing this over and over too from other analysis and stuff. The defense as a whole is pretty vanilla. They just don't do a lot of stunts. They don't do a lot of anything to confuse an offensive line. And I think if that's something that they can change going into the season and start forcing offensive line specifically to actually have to think and not just, basically man up on whoever's across from them is essentially what they've been doing, then I think that can spell, huge plays, get more sacks. Even when Von Miller does come back, I think it'll open up for him even more. I think Gregory Rousseau will get in there more. If you want a hot take from me as far as the defensive line goes, Gregory Rousseau is going to get double-digit sacks this year. And I don't even know that's really that high. He had 8 last season. So
we're in the same boat. I think he's going to end up with 10 as well. I think that they're going to start pushing him inside a little bit more. He played that 3-tech a little bit last year, and he played it well. He's big enough, and long enough to where he can push, though he can really bully those guards around. I know guards are big, heavy boys. Groot is a strong, long dude, and he has the body weight and the strength and the agility to get through or around the interior offensive linemen. So I'd like to see him playing in there a little bit more. Get a bull rush set out there with Von Miller next to Groot, next to Puna, next to Tim Settle, or Daquan Jones or Jordan Phillips, anybody. Watch that entire group. Get all that body weight on that field and watch the line just try to collapse on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
And what Ron was saying earlier is aggressive. We might see that more aggressiveness this year.
So you both want to see more more aggression and coming from the defense,
and not necessarily in the blitz. Some more blitzing would be nice, but
I don't want them sitting way back when it's 3rd and 10.
Yeah. Force the issue, force them in. I was laughing a while ago because, Casey, while you're talking, so my phone is blowing up with all of my girls and my wife. They just found out that the Raiders are going to be in Buffalo for that opening.
Yeah.
And,
that's right.
As I've said before, my wife's a Raiders fan. However, we joke about this all the time. She has more Bills gear than she does Raiders.
Real question. Right? Who is she? What jersey is she going to wear to that game?
She has already said that she will be in her Bills gear.
Yeah.
Cool. She's a smart woman.
Yeah. So that she just stuck her head around the corner and it's Raiders and Bills. all quietly to me. That was pretty funny. So, as far as the defensive line, I just want to see more trickery.
Yeah, well, because we talk about like the shootout style football where the offense going back and forth. You know what I mean? So it's pretty much like you have nothing to lose on defense. You got to get after it and make plays on defense. So I don't think we really have a choice there.
Well, I mean, we
can get it done on offense and go head to head and go back and forth with any team basically. So, I mean, you got to get after it because if you don't, I mean, you're going to get scored on anyway.
We saw that in the Super Bowl this past year. I mean, the Eagles' offensive line. I mean, this is the best offensive line we've seen in how many years? Last year. And the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs weren't deemed with a great defense last year, but in that Super Bowl, they just kept going at Jalen Hurts and that offensive line. They kept sending more than 4 guys. They'd send 5, 6, but they were running all these different stunts coming from all these different angles to where even that great offensive line couldn't handle itself. And the Chiefs were able to come back and win that game because of it. I mean, it's proven that like you got to be able to get to the quarterback. And I think if we had to start bringing 5, 6 guys a little bit more often, I'm fine with that. I'd love to see a little bit more a couple more free rushers being able to go at a quarterback. I'm tired of seeing guys being able to bust. Of always having to be able to bust through those double teams or win those one-on-ones constantly in order just to get the pressure, let alone a sack.
First of all, I threw this up here because this is my wife.
Kind of figured as much.
When it comes to the defensive line, one guy that's on that defensive line there, everybody is down on right now, and everybody wants traded because of his $10 million contract that I think would benefit more than anybody on that line from a more confusing front, stunts, things like that, would be Ed Oliver. Put him in a position where he can run around those big guys like, Poona Ford and Jordan Phillips and Daquan Jones, and let him use that athleticism and make some plays.
That'd be very interesting.
I mean, we saw what he was able to do the first game of the year last year. I mean, he was, before he got injured, he was blowing up the middle of that offensive line for the Rams. But he had Daquan Jones, Von Miller, and Gregory Rousseau. So if he's got a full team around him, yeah, he can be a wrecking ball. But I mean,
I'd love to see that.
Watching that Bengals game today, he can't do it alone.
No. When I remember some of the highlights that I did see from that game, and just he was constantly double teamed and just getting pushed around. And he's not that type of a defensive tackle. He needs the Daquan Jones and some of those guys around him to be able to work in space and make some plays.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was an undersized nose tackle coming into this league. I mean, the position he's playing now isn't his natural position as is. So, I mean, there's been a monstrous learning curve for him. I mean, I've been giving Ed Oliver the benefit of the doubt his entire career because of the reasons I just said. I mean, the team either hasn't been great around him, or B, the reasons like being out of position, being undersized. So this is now year 5. Which is why I understand with Bean keeping him around. It's a high price to pay, but that's what you sign up for when you draft somebody in the first round and at pick number 9. But this is it. I mean, this is his prove it year. I mean, I understand no hypotheticals here. I mean, like this is it. He's either going to be on this team next year because of what he did this year, or he's not because of what he did this year.
So if he has a great year, well, let's say good year, like I don't know what you would consider, what threshold would you say, okay, that's it, Oliver, we're looking for, let's bring him back, or versus, we can find that kind of production somewhere else at a cheaper rate, whatever, let him go. Do you think he comes back after this year?
To me, he has to get minimum 6 sacks in order to come back. His career high is 5.5, and that was, I believe, his rookie year. So I think he would have to probably get right around 5.5, 6 sacks just to get back to what he showed he was able to do. We all loved Ed early on in his career. We're like, all right, we got something here. We all knew he was
even at spots throughout his career. He's like, oh, there's Ed Oliver. And then where'd he go?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if he can just do it more consistently. And I think that 6 sacks would probably be the key number. 6 sacks, maybe 10 tackles for loss, bat a couple of balls down, maybe. Just more, I guess, more flash plays. And that's what everybody wants to see is more flash plays. That's what everybody complained about with Tremaine Edmonds up until last year. He doesn't make the splash plays. He doesn't get the sacks, the interceptions. Well, that's not what he was asked to do. But Ed Oliver being in that 3-tech position is what he's being asked to do. He's being asked to go win the one-on-one and get to the quarterback. So if he's finally able to do that this year at a pretty decent level, I could see bringing him back. Now, will it even be at that $10.7 million price point a year? I highly doubt it. It would probably be somewhere more like 6.5, $7 million a year, with a decent signing bonus. But I don't see giving him that much money, like a 4-year, $60 million contract.
If he has that kind of a season, though, would another team give him?
Probably.
With Tremaine Edmonds.
Probably.
So
that for me is why I don't think he's on this roster after 2023. And not necessarily because it's the Bills' choice. It may be, but I think if he has a good season, puts up 6, 8, 10 sacks, some team out there is going to overpay him, just like they did with Tremaine Edmonds.
Probably.
If he doesn't put up that kind of performance and has the same thing we've been seeing, Buffalo's not going to bring him back. So I think either way, personally, this is his last year with the Bills.
Now, if he has a ho-hum season, and like what Brandon Beane does with almost all the free agents, go test the market, see what you can get out there. Now we'll see where his loyalty lies because he loves Buffalo. We see the relationship that he has with the city and the fans.
Yeah.
Is that going to be something to where, all right, he will take $5 million on a 4-year deal just to remain here and grow as a player, and then maybe in 3 years and like after that contract's done, then he really gets paid, then he gets that $10 million a year contract, maybe. And I would love to see that. I would not hate Ed Oliver being on this team for the next 4 years following this season, as long as it's at the right price point. He's a good enough player that you should want on your team, but not want to have to pay top dollar.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of players in the NFL. Yeah, well, look at Kirk Cousins. A lot of people would love to have Kirk Cousins on their team, but they're not going to pay Kirk Cousins money.
No, they're not.
So I wanted to say I can't really put like a number, like you said, 6 sacks. Like I can't really put a number on it, but he's just got to be relevant to me, throughout the season. His role they have to have a relevant role for him, maybe, to actually put him in that position. But yeah,
I think the sacks is part of it. Richard Rush brings up the pressures. That's also part of it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see more TFLs too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like get in that backfield and disrupt the run game a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because that to me is just as big a part of it as the rest of it.
Being disruptive as a whole.
Yeah. So this season is going to be interesting. Really quick question. You guys, I'm sure you probably haven't had a chance to really look over, anybody else's schedules. They're already talking about toughest schedules in the league. I saw something the other day. Buffalo came in number 7, I believe, on toughest schedules, which I thought, okay, let's be honest. At this point in May, you can't really gauge that.
Yeah.
I think the Jets won, 6 games last season, and nobody would deny the fact that they are way better with Aaron Rodgers than they were with Zach Wilson. So strength of schedule is based solely on winning percentages from the teams from a season ago. Even the Bengals, they lost some players. I believe they lost both of their starting safeties.
Yep.
There's no guarantees that they're going to be the same Bengals we've seen in the last couple of seasons.
Safeties and corners.
Yeah, offensively, they are pretty much still the same. Maybe even got a little bit better on the offensive line. But that defense wouldn't scare me.
Logan Wilson, Hubbard, and Trey Hendrickson. Those guys scare me. But other than that, not too much.
But we have an all-world offensive line now.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I guess we'll see after this season. We'll see. We'll see in February.
We're speaking in future tense.
Yeah.
Well, week 1 is going to be a good test for the offensive line for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about next week first before we even get to week 1.
Yes. So next week, what we want to do is kind of break down some of the position battles. We want to look at some of the more intriguing position battles, like the middle linebacker spot, maybe some of the offensive lines, particularly the interior. And we're going to have a special guest to discuss these things with us. Next week, we'll have Buffalo's very own Steve Tasker joining us, and we will get a chance to sit down and talk some Bills football with him.
It's going to be so fun to pick his brain.
I'm going to be in the Carolinas, but I'm going to try to make it on here.
That's right. Mike's going to be on vacation in the Outer Banks. That's right.
Casey will be on mobile. His screen will be like little, rectangular.
Probably.
But yeah, so next week we'll have Steve Tasker on. We'll pick his brain. We'll talk Bills football. We'll break down some of the positions. We might get into some more of the all-time spots as well. I do want to talk to him about the red helmet thing and see what maybe he knows on that. And there's one little story about Jim Kelly that I want to conversate with him on as well.
Ooh.
So we'll get to that next week. So until then. Again, we are the Mafia Cast. We are on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. And until next week, we are out of here. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Be sure to tune in to Line to Gain. Go Bills.
Go Bills.